And that's it. That's what I think helps explain and understand this thing. And it's easy to go socialist or, oh, he's going to just go and bomb all of Israel. It's easy to do that. But the reality is, this person is fresh. The reality is, there's an idea like, oh, good. There's another avenue other than, what was the boy's name? That he ran against. Everybody was so surprised. Excuse me, I know what I'm talking about, but it was, I'm talking about right now. And as again, how that relates possibly to this idea of a model, if you will, for the rest of the Democratic Party. Not the exact things are going to play out in every city, every state of America. That's not the lesson I learned from New York, it's a special place like LA. But nonetheless, the idea that somebody will be bold enough to kind of speak to, or definitely speak to, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues that the masses of the people really do concern themselves with, however it plays out in Nebraska or Oregon or Wisconsin or wherever the hell it plays out. I think that is really, to me, what scares the hell out of the established Republican Party and the established Democratic Party. It scares the hell out of them that, oh, this dude is definitely off the beaten path, and he got all these people saying, we want you. That right there, I think, what we should really be focusing in on, because especially as the Republican Party or the MAGA Party or the Trump is going through some real changes in the last 100 days or so, or whatever this is, I'm always with them, like, by the time, the Democratic Party, this pendulum shifting, whatever, but I just think that it's right. So even, and also, let's not forget about Elon jumping in, and with a whole other party. And so what I'm saying is, I think what is very easy to prove is that the American people realize change is what we want. I was dropping my
conversation's gone.
that makes sense to me that
No, you make sense, brother. I'm not trying to suggest you do it, because I don't know where we are specifically in the conversation, I suppose.
No, I was just bringing in something to it. That's all I'm saying. I recognize it, they don't understand. Because it's definitely not on an either or. I told you I was right. So,
yeah. I will say, I think very critical of DSA regulars, people behind Zoran and helped him win. A lot of those people actually come from the Obama campaign. But actually spoke to them. What I think is what I'm getting to, like what Dave was trying to say is like we need to have a message that's simple for people to understand. I think that's one of the reasons why Zoran Mazami is so popular right now, because he's running on affordability for New Yorkers, right? And that's like pretty much, make bus fare free, like those 3 things that he's like working on. And maybe it's not necessarily going to be able to get done, but, these are things that, like, people are really interested in because, like, it's become very unaffordable for a lot of New Yorkers, for people that live in New York City. So, can people model that, or is DSA, now that they, gained so much popularity? By the way, they have chapters in every state, most cities. I'm sure they've gained a lot of ground because of this. I mean, is DSA the future? Who knows, right? But they have a good ground game. I mean, they mobilized tens of thousands of people in New York City. I mean, they had people canvassing the city for 8 months. It was crazy, right? So this is like an unprecedented number of people voted in this primary election. An unprecedented amount of people canvassed, like places where people haven't gone before. And they honestly didn't even scratch the surface. Maybe people don't really care about New York City because I guess you feel like you're going to vote Democratic anyway. But they really engaged a lot of voters that really have been ignored. So in that case, I'm very, I have a lot of criticism for DSA, but I can say that the ground game and a lot of people that they have in place, are really good. Like I said, they are people that were very much, works for Obama, works for Hillary, and have that background in
has a better organization. Like, he has a whole machine behind him. And I think in their arrogance, they negated to talk to the people as Sin was saying, right? They thought that they had it in the bag. And I think that's indicative of the Democratic Party itself, right? I think the Democratic Party in North America has aligned itself with messaging and, certain things that are divisive, and they're standing on this shit. Obviously, on the national level, on the local level, it's an outdated message, right? And so they seem to be afraid to stand up. They seem to be afraid to not agree with people, and so on and so forth. And for some reason, they keep reverting back to a playbook that is no longer effective. And that's what we saw with the last election. It's just like, people, you're talking about issues that people really do agree upon. There's certain issues that across the aisle, Americans agree on. And instead of realizing that and not ruffling the feathers, you guys are holding yourselves down. Democrats are holding themselves down on issues that really, really turn people off. And they're going to vote for anything that's opposing to certain platforms that people understand. I'm going to leave it at that. And so I agree with Sin. I think here in New York City, this guy, I don't know him too well, but I can tell you this. What New York needs, New York definitely needs a more competent person, no matter who's in that seat. Because Bloomberg, he was in that seat, right? You really got to have your chops to really lead New York City. And I don't think
a lot of people want to go, Robert.
Yeah.
Just keep it down to 2 minutes.
All right, so then I land, because I was less than 2 minutes, but I land.
So, I agree, Sin, because I know what's AOC has been running on democratic socialism. But again, my issue with democratic socialism is the messaging. People hear socialism, they make a lot of assumptions. When I have brought up democratic socialism to people within conversation, people make a lot of assumptions because they hear socialism and then they want to equate it to communism and go down this pipeline. And this is what I'm talking about when it pertains to messaging. Sometimes things need to be rephrased, or needs to be another term used to describe maybe an agenda or a party. For instance, when people were talking about defunding the police, people actually thought people were just going to remove funding for the police. It was going to be the abolishment of the police departments, etc., right? Instead of reallocating funds to different programs that would lighten the load off of police and actually directly take care of certain areas that police officers were not trained or educated in onto managing, right? So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to messaging. A lot of people don't know what democratic socialism is, and a lot of people will take that and run with it into this communism, Russian bloc or USSR bloc, pipeline, and it's just it doesn't make sense to me because I understand what it is, but when you think about it, their rationale does kind of make sense, and this is what I'm talking about when Democrats, the problem with their messaging.
So can we define socialism now? A modern socialism that?
Oh, just real quick, I'll just go off for messages before your question get asked. I agree with that. That's why I wanted to expound on the conversation between you and Quinn, because just like I said, the Republican Party has done a great thing at things that stick. Just like people who get questioned about the Affordable Health Care Act and Obamacare, they think there are two different plans. When it comes to woke, for what woke actually really means, if you ask people who have demonized what woke is, or DEI, or different words like that, it's been able to be distorted, it's been muddied, it's basically been bastardized into something that's evil that they can run with but don't have a full understanding. So that's why I've really been in agreement with you that it has been a huge messaging issue with Democrats. Now, I think people get a little touchy with the elitism word, only because we know both parties have elitists all up and through it. I mean, Trump is an elitist if you think about it. He just have a way of being just as dumb when he's speaking. Some people actually just pick up on it because it's quote unquote, we're not going to say dumb, we're going to say layman terms. He know how to do layman terms. So where do we go from here to be able to simplify the message but still have people do research, to still have people watch Schoolhouse Rock, something simple, something to learn how actual bills are passed, how the government function, how it works, and what are actually in these bills instead of just these simple play on words, but they end up signing their own death warrants. What can be a solution to that? I feel like it's a big thing because we could throw around and say that the Republican simplified messages, yes, they win elections, but it's to the detriment to our country. The debt and the deficit tells that story. But also there's an issue with Democrats as well. So what are we gonna do? What is the solution at this point? Can somebody give any of
So from what I'm hearing, based on this conversation, there are two things that are in this conversation.
But he was speaking.